Telling me that, are you saying that patriarchy is bad for men?
I would say, I am someone who is holding the burden of patriarchy.
Therapeutic is an organization that talks about mental health. It was intended to make conversations about mental health easier, just make difficult conversations easier. And I don't think there's anything that's more difficult to talk about than men's mental health. And we just thought that this is a very important day. This is the World Mental Health Day 2020. Yeah, so just to introduce myself, I am Dr. Abhilash, and I work as a psychiatrist here in Melbourne. And
Right.
here we've got a very, very special guest with us, Mr. Arjun Lal, who I think needs no introduction, but I'm still going to start. Arjun, it's an absolute privilege to welcome you. I don't think you
Thank you
need
so much. Thank you so
I
much.
I don't think you need an introduction at all. At least to the Malayalis who followed cinema. He's also an award winner. He's received a state award for a movie that he did almost 15 years back. And interestingly, it was about a man who had mental health issues. So I think it's just very nice that things have gone around a whole circle, and 15 years later we're able to talk about men's
Able
mental
to
health.
talk about this. True, 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 true.
And I know that Arjun's a great ally of mental health. And Arjun, we feel really lucky that you're here as well. So yeah, I'm just going to get over to you. I think I've spoken
Thank
enough.
you so much for the warm introduction, Abhi. Thank you so much. Now, I have to say it's a real an honor to be speaking about this, especially on this particular day, World Mental Health Day. And got to say, kudos to you guys, kudos to Therapeut for doing all the services that you've been doing all this while. It's a great team. I know all you guys personally, and the kind of webinars and the kind of campaigns that you've been doing to create awareness, really needs an applause. So, congrats to you guys. So, uh, me being a mental health ally, speaking here, I have to say, I have to first acknowledge the fact that, I probably represent a section of the audience who have been watching this or in the society right now who really would want to know more about mental health, not just specifically to men, but in general about mental health and how can we create more awareness about this and how can we uh, do things, from small little things from our side to make a change. So let's make this conversation as informal as possible, at the same time informative as possible for those people who are watching. And me, I'm like I told you, I find this. We'll be probably speaking. We'll be probably talking about this for the next 40 to 45 minutes, and I find this as a great learning curve for me. To understand more about this, especially from a expert like you. So that's it. Over to you, Abhi.
Thanks, Arjun. I think that's absolutely right. There's a lot of difference in how gender roles are kind of go through the ages and stuff. So you got young boys who are told not to cry. Yeah. So
Yeah, we can
quite
start from there. Exactly. The stigma associated with men expressing their emotions, um, not to cry. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to do, isn't it? I mean, being a child. I think all the boys were always told, be it schools or in family as well, or in this, be it a get together, wherever the boys go. When something goes wrong and they tend to express their emotions in this manner, when they get really emotional, the first probably the statement or a dialogue from all the elders or his peer group would be, don't be a girl, okay,
yeah.
don't cry. I mean, that's curbing his emotions, and uh, things have changed a lot for the past couple of years, probably the last decade, but a long way to go. That's what I believe. So it starts from there. It's a good point that you made. It starts from the childhood, and what I think it goes on, as we move forward to adolescence and when he moves to college or school, and after that, when entering into the corporate world, the scenario is the same. It doesn't make a difference for the men out there. So I think it starts from there. You made a valid point.
Telling me that, are you saying that patriarchy is bad for men?
I would say, I'm someone who is holding the burden of patriarchy, which has been there for generations. So
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, who's trying to break those shackles and come out of it, open your eyes and see. I mean, this is what's happening around the world. And so patriarchy, yes, it has, of course, got a lot to do with this, the stigma associated in the society and the families, how we were brought up by our parents and our peer groups, the family members, the relatives, the people around. True, they have a huge impact on shaping up and molding the character of men as you grow on. And what happens is the more they curb their emotions and bottle it up, this is a crazy world out here. See, when we get into the real world, when we start working, we take up responsibility and start earning for the families, and get into the corporate world, that hangama. It's not easy to tackle all this because the kind of pressure people go through in the workspace, it's not something that can be taken very lightly. So that's where I think all these uh, problems will start popping up. We have got our own set of friends, the closest circle. But I used to think, how often do we really talk to each other about the real problems? We are not talking about the daily problems that we are facing, the day-to-day problems or hurdles that we come across. I'm talking about the real issues what each one is facing. That's a dark side of a person. How often do we actually even talk to our friends? Not many. I don't think I don't think many actually do open up so clearly that the friends can reach out and help you. Maybe that is because of the stigma associated with men are supposed to be strong. The only emotion men can actually uh, socially acceptable emotion that we can express is probably anger.
What you said, it couldn't be more right. I think what kind of happens is because of all the patriarchy that we have, what's happened over time is that, yeah, so I think men and boys are kind of really comfortable with, not doing the dishes, not helping out around the house. Boys being boys, they're so comfortable with that. But I think just moving forward, I don't think a lot of people realize that the comfort completely gets taken off. As you said, in the corporate world, you've got to earn, you've got to come back, and you have no idea what to do in the house. You've got no life skills. You
We're not
cannot.
trained for that. We were not certainly trained for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's actually a deficit state. It's actually a problem. It's not like, oh, okay, yeah, you're lush, you're comfortable, and things like that. It actually makes men, as a matter of fact, just being so deficient in life skills and so deficient in emotional maturity as well. Because look, I mean, this is a boy who's been taught, oh, you know what? Oh, you're crying. Don't be a girl. And then moving forward, you say, oh, she ditched you. Let go of that girl. It doesn't really matter. I think they're just so taught that you're supposed to play the field, supposed to have as many girlfriends as possible, supposed to, explore everything that's there, that you don't even understand the concept of a stable relationship. You don't even understand the level of maturity that's necessary for a stable relationship. So what you're left with is a boy who's transformed into a man who has no life skills, cannot take care of himself, has got absolutely no emotional maturity.
Exactly. I mean, isn't that what we say to our friends as well? What we used to say, I would correct myself. Man up, get a beer, man up, just move on. Isn't that what we say? But I think it's the opposite when it comes to the ladies, the girls, because I think they are there for each other a little more when it comes to matters like this. We're going in the wrong direction altogether when it comes to that particular word, man up. That should be just terminated. I mean, it
No,
should
I
not be
think
used anymore.
no, you're right. I mean, yeah,
Rather than that, what we should be saying, I think should be open up. We should be there for each other to talk about this. And
yeah,
the worst thing is when you have a problem, when have a problem, it all starts in the college. I mean, during the adolescent life, when you have a problem, that's where you start exploring your relationships. You will have breakups, things don't work for you the way you want it to be, and people easily get influenced by alcohol and other drugs, and we fall for that, and that's making things worse for us.
In my view, manning up actually means that you're suppressing your emotions to try and fit into some gender stereotypes there. What
Hmm.
you're essentially trying to do is you're just trying to say that emotions are not really important. Just drown them out or just smoke up. All things are going to be completely fine.
Hmm.
That's how life is supposed to be. You're not supposed to, talk to anyone about it. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to do any of that. So what that does is that it obviously bottles up so many emotions within you. It either comes out as you said, violence, as you said, rightly said earlier. It could come out in depression, could come out in anxiety, and yeah, and very, very importantly, is a lot of drug use that comes as part of this.
We all have come across people who tend to get really emotional and unstable after they are drunk. Some get aggressive and some even start crying. And what we actually normally do is, I was thinking about this while you were talking, Abhi. We have all met friends like that. And the next day, they won't even remember any of this. Did I say that? That's what they ask. So what we have to realize is, what we used to do usually is, we mock that person or make fun of that person. The next time we do that, and they get into the shell all again. I mean, the next time, when there's a drinking session, they probably curb their emotions even more. So I
Yeah.
think what we should be doing is, open our eyes and see that, there are people around us who needs help. Probably these are indicators that, that person is not keeping so well. Maybe he needs a person to talk. And what are friends for? I mean, that's where I think, we should step up and take the next step. Talk to them, sit down. I think we should encourage it. I think it should start from childhood. We should encourage the child to talk more. Yes, we encourage the child to talk to the parents, but I think it's different for the boys and the girls. So I think that's where it should all start. Encouraging them to communicate better,
Yeah.
be it with friends or with people we trust. That's the circle of trust that it should be built right from childhood. That's what I think.
That's right. That's absolutely right. I think it's important for all the suppressed emotions to come out in ways that are like more adaptive rather than just saying that let me just get it out in violence. And what also happens is you're not really able to have that connect as well because you've got a facade of being very macho, but inside, as you're saying, there's a lot of inhibitions, there's a lot of stuff which only comes out when you're drunk. And unfortunately, what happens over time is because of the drug use and because of the kind of personality that tends to bottle up everything, over time it leads to a lot of other disorders as well.
Hmm.
So you've got self-harm. As a matter of fact, suicide, the people
Rates are
who,
much higher in men, right? I read about that.
yeah, many times more in men. And I'm sure it's got many, many theories for that, but this is definitely one of them. The sociological theories and all that kind of support this. All disorders can be there in men as well. And I think that's something that a lot of people kind of forget. Narrative has to change. Talk more narratives and talk about how you're growing up as well. Obviously, media has had a big influence in our lives.
Very true.
And now, yeah, social media is obviously huge now. So what are your thoughts on, kind of linking up men's mental health and
And is very disappointing is we all have seen movies where where I'll give you an example. When you show a mental asylum, you show the inmates jumping around and creating all kind of dramas there. And what a filmmaker is trying to do is he's trying to make a scene really comical and slapstick out of that. And that's not the way to do that. And what is even more disappointing is people sitting and laughing at that in theaters. I used to sit and wonder what is the big humor here, but that works for the masses. That's what happened is over the last probably decades and decades, the audience have been conditioned in such a way that when you show a mental illness, it's supposed to be comedy. I mean, that's not how it should be. I think filmmakers should, probably gear up and take a serious action about this, and take. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be comical all the time. So what it indirectly does to the audience is, imagine a person who is going through some, some kind of. I'm not talking about illness. I mean, some kind of, after effects of this bottling up, or what we were talking before. What happens is the next time he wants to talk to someone about this, I have some problems, dude. I'm going through this in my life. He is always worried that he'll be laughed at. When it comes to the news media, the social media, be it visual or print, oh, I think they're having a huge impact. Uh, uh, for example, no, I don't want to get into names, But yes, they do bring in awareness. They bring the right news at times. But what happens after that is they just get carried away from the real matter what we are talking about. It gets hijacked by the speculations and all kind of absurd theories about what happened, and lots of people get affected by that, and there's a media buzz that's happening, and of course it also takes a u-turn when the politicians get involved in that. So that's a kind of effect right now media's having on mental health, I would say. Well, I mean, it is something that needs to be addressed more carefully and more genuinely rather than just going by TRP rates and the trend. That's what I think.
I'm guilty of that as well. Actually, laughing when shown movies of asylums and stuff. I no longer laugh, obviously, but
We're all culprits when it comes to that.
everyone is absolutely. And I think you're right. There needs to be a bit more responsibility in terms of the media bit as well. I think in terms of representing mental illnesses and representing therapy as something that that it's like a workout, as you said. It's not something that you go only when you're absolutely extremely unwell and things like that. Yeah, I think from here, I think it's important that people need to know a bit of tips as well about what they can take home and how they can kind of improve men's mental health. What would you say are some of the tips that
No, I should be asking you that. You're the expert here. No, coming into that, I was just, it's just my personal experience. I was just, wondering about, what's been happening for the last few years in my mind. I realized that, when I did a small self evaluation, I was thinking I am actually more stressed than I was a few years back. So I thought, was it just age, or is it the phase of my life, where I am in right now? It's not just that. It's just absolute intolerance to many of the things that's happening around us. Like I said, in the beginning of this conversation, it's actually a crazy world. It's not easy to live here right now because a lot of things happening around us. I'm not just talking about the COVID pandemic, nothing. I'm just talking about the entire socio-political scenario, the countries that we are living in, be it Australia or be it India. So I understood that I'm more stressed than I was a few years back. So I was actually going to ask you. I think I'll return the question to you. What me being a representative of the common people, who really take mental health seriously, who want to live better, be happier than we were yesterday. What tips do you give for a better lifestyle?
I think we mentioned this thing about manning up and what manning up actually does. So let's try to undo the manning up. And what that means is let's try and communicate a bit better. So, for example, just imagine this boy who's become a man who has no emotional repertoire. The only thing that he can do is violence to express himself or have a drink or 10 or 20 drinks or whatever, comes back home and goes to sleep, doesn't really have the ability to communicate what he's feeling. I think that's the first thing. If you don't have the ability to communicate what you're feeling, you end up feeling really lonely. You're really scared that you might lose a job. But who do you talk to? If you go to your friends, they're going to be like, dude, what are you saying, man? Jobs come, jobs go. You know what? Just forget about all of this. Just have
Have
a
a
drink.
pure chill.
Have a beer and chill. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I would say that call your friends out. When they ask you to man up, just call your friends out. Like, come on, man, that's not the way to do it. He's obviously going through something. He obviously, gets aggressive or starts crying when he's actually drunk, and he's completely fine when he's sober. Maybe just talk to him and see what he's going through. I would say the first and foremost thing is seek social support. If it's your family, if it's your friends or whatever, and if friends tell you to man up, go to a different set of friends. Someone like what you just said. I think you've been a great mental health ally. Someone like you'd be like, okay, fine. You know what? Let's talk about it. And if it so happens that you have spoken about all of this, and then you just feel really free. I think that's very liberating to kind of speak about this because you don't have that, you don't have all those bottled up things. You actually feel unburdened, you feel liberated, and your stress levels go down, your anxiety levels go down, and over time, you could even prevent some of the things like depression from happening. That's kind of how it goes. But I'd probably say that even if by all these measures it doesn't really work out, go to a therapist, go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I think if you do all of these things, in addition to general stuff like fitness, I think that's something else that you brought up. That is exactly like fitness. Fitness has obviously got a big role to play in terms of mental health as well.
They are very complementary to each other. That's what I believe. The physical fitness is very important because for me, fitness is just spending 2 hours in whatever physical activity that I'm involved in. It's a catharsis, basically just letting it off. All the pent up emotions and energy. That's what fitness means for me. Rather than just the physical, I mean the outcome of it is entirely different. Yes, you'll get back in shape and all that is different, but basically how it helps your and I'm not just talking about six packs here. I'm just talking about what happens. Because I think for the last couple of months I've been working out regularly because workout was not a regular thing that I used to do. It's just on and off thing. But when I made that part of my lifestyle, things have changed. Things have changed internally as well, not just externally.
I think that's a very useful tip. And I think it's also important to exercise because that means that you have a level of commitment towards yourself, towards your body. It is an act of self-love as well. It ensures that you acceptance and self-love and all of that. And that over time leads to positive self-care and well-being. I think it's very important to have had this conversation. I think it's important that we've got the conversation started on men's mental health as well. And we couldn't have found a more perfect person for this. Thank you for being a mental health ally. And I think,
like I told you, I was here. I decided to spend this 1 hour here because I really wanted to learn, understand your insights about this. And probably if there are people who are watching this, they have any queries, not just queries, they have any ideas about this, how to spread the word about this. I thought I found myself in a place where I could really learn, and this was excellent, fantastic. That's what I would say. Thank you, really thank you for having me here.
no, yeah, thanks a lot for coming in. I am so glad that you're here. And thank you everyone for watching.
You can reach out to Therapeute with queries related to mental health. And before you go, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to our Therapeute channel. Thanks for watching. See you very soon.